Heroes of the Storm is one of the most successful flops in history. The game was growing, it had a loyal fan base, great gameplay, IP, esports, but then, out of nowhere, Blizzard cut the ice and left the game and the community to just float away. This move by Blizzard has frustrated me for years. Probably because I'm not just an outsider looking in with this game. I have thousands of hours playing HOTS, having played over 5,000 games and achieving mastery with just about every character. I mean, just look at the amount of loot boxes I have unopened. I could start a channel and have hours of footage of me just opening these dang things. I know heroes if you can't tell. And I also know, personally, that Blizzard has not updated this game in years. Until recently. Something has changed at Blizzard or Microsoft. A light has been lit, and I'm curious, is Heroes of the Storm, a decade later after coming out, calling players back to the Nexus? Now, to understand what is happening, we need to go back 10 years before this game came out, 20 years ago.
It's about time.
At the time, I'm this young teenager watching my brother play some new game on our computer. It looks like Warcraft 3, but it's a little different. He's not controlling a bunch of little minions, he's controlling just one hero on a map with these pathways leading to a base. This was my first time seeing Dota, or more specifically, Dota All-Stars. It was a custom game made in Warcraft 3, and this little custom game would become the blueprint for the next decade of competitive gaming. Now here's where Blizzard commits the original sin. While the custom game is exploding inside their ecosystem, Blizzard doesn't chase it. Not because they're stupid, but because they're Blizzard. They're busy being the kings of WoW and taking their sweet, sweet time. So while Blizzard hesitates to capitalize on this new genre, Riot creates League of Legends, and Valve creates Dota 2. Suddenly, Blizzard is in the most painful position imaginable. They're watching someone else become the face of the genre that grew in their own backyard. And I lived this evolution. After watching my brother play Warcraft 3 Dota, I jumped on and played the crap out of that game. Then, after a few years of Dota, League came out, and I went there. Then I dabbled for a few years with Dota 2, and then when Heroes finally came out, I switched again. I was a MOBA fiend. I loved these kinds of games, so I have 800 hours in Deadlock. And I was stoked to play this new MOBA with all my favorite characters from Blizzard. But sadly, this time, I was a minority that switched from League of Legends and from Dota. Why? Well, probably because Blizzard was too late to the MOBA genre. Most don't remember, but Heroes of the Storm was actually announced at BlizzCon in 2010, the same year that StarCraft 2 was released, which is wild because the full release of Heroes wouldn't hit until June 2nd of 2015. It was the GTA 6 meme for me in those years. Everything was releasing before HOTS. Now, Blizzard originally pitched it almost like a mod showcase, right? Blizzard Dota. And if you go back to the early footage, it really does feel like Blizzard was just testing the waters, wondering, what if we did our version, or if we did this? Years passed and the genre got its staples. It got roots. League became the default MOBA for the majority of players. They leveraged that free-to-play model to get millions of people, which I talk about in my League video. Then Dota 2 released, copying that free-to-play model, and they separated themselves by being a little bit more of a complex MOBA with a specific callback to that original Dota from Warcraft 3. Where Blizzard, well, they were still iterating and iterating and iterating. What was worse was that not only did Blizzard not have the gameplay nailed down, they were in this trademark war with Valve over the name Dota. I don't want to spend too much time on this, but basically Blizzard and Valve go through this whole mess. They fight, they bicker, Valve wins, probably because Blizzard kind of gave up, and then Blizzard ends up renaming their project and Valve gets to name theirs Dota 2. After the dust settles, all the drama goes away, Blizzard's MOBA becomes Blizzard All-Stars, which I still think is the best option. But then they changed it again to Heroes of the Storm. And this bugged me because you can feel the identity crisis here. Blizzard All-Stars felt like it said something. It was going to be like Dota All-Stars, my favorite version of the Dota custom game, but with Blizzard characters instead. This was perfect. They picked their name and they should have just gotten to work making that. They would have had a leg up on Dota and League because they had years of strong brand love to lean on. Warcraft, Diablo, StarCraft. And I have no doubt that if Blizzard had released their game at the same time as League and Dota, they would have won the MOBA title. But while Blizzard spent years figuring out what to call the thing, League and Dota were growing. And finally, after years of development, HOTS Open Beta began May 19th of 2015 with the full launch coming out on June 2nd. But it was too late. Not because 2015 is too late to release a good game, because 2015 is too late to steal players from other MOBAs. It may sound crazy, but a MOBA isn't just a game you play. It's a skill you build, a language. Just learning what all the characters can do takes years. And Blizzard spent 5 years letting their target players, their target audience, learn League and Dota. So when Heroes finally arrived, it wasn't just fighting for your time, it was fighting for the time you already sunk into these other MOBAs. Hundreds, if not thousands of hours. What was worse is Heroes did something different. It didn't copy League or Dota, it tried to reimagine the genre. In the beginning, Heroes made a choice. It didn't want to be the most hardcore MOBA. It wanted to be the MOBA you could actually convince your less sweaty friends to play. There were shorter games, objective-driven maps, Team XP, no item shop. It's basically Blizzard saying, what if the fun part, fighting all the time, was the main part? And for me, that worked because I didn't want a MOBA that required me to stay employed by it. I had a life, not much of one, but I wanted a MOBA I could live around and be able to play other games. And that's where my crew enters the story. We all switched at the same time, and it was glorious.
No, do it again.
Again.
Baiting them in. Break that gate, yeah.
I have played 5-man games with these guys for almost 8 years. We can swap roles, we can read each other, we know what the other guy is doing before he even does it. Except when we're kind of screwing around and we wipe.
I saw Kyle looking for the heal, and I ran towards the group, and I have the fattest hitbox.
Missed my hair.
It's a blast. And this is what Heroes was truly best at. It's the party MOBA, the MOBA where chemistry matters more than ego. And here's the problem. Blizzard didn't fully accept the type of game they made, a party MOBA, and that it grows differently than these other games. If your audience is casual leaning, you don't win by flexing competitive prestige. You win by building the following. The easiest onboarding in the genre, make it simple, make it quick. You win by the best party and social systems. You win by the most friendly gameplay loop. And you win by creating this feel, this vibe that says, bring your friends, you'll have a good time tonight. Think Halo or Super Smash. Competitive games, no question, but they're fun first. I get that this is still a MOBA, and so it's a little bit more competitive than those games. And so the game rides a fine line, but basically HOTS, they targeted what I would call as a more casual competitive audience. But then they made a mistake. Blizzard started the esports scene, like immediately. Most games earn esports the slow way. Small tournaments first, then they get community hype, storylines, orgs then show up, sponsors follow, and then once you do all of that, you build the big league. This is the model most follow. Blizzard, however, tried to start at the finish line. In early 2015, before HOTS even fully launched, Blizzard was already pushing the competitive roadmap. Specifically, a road to BlizzCon, which was this circuit with over 1.2 million in total cash and prizes. And at the same time, they did something else. They ran Heroes of the Dorm, a college tournament that got ESPN on board. Dude, I loved Heroes of the Dorm. Seeing ASU win was awesome.
Arizona State, your champions!
From the outside looking in, it looked like Blizzard had cracked the code. There was big money, there was a big stage, unique strategies of getting awareness, and there was a lot of energy at that time. But under the surface, the scene had a problem. HOTS esports, it wasn't growing. And when that happens, you get this bubble. A bubble that looks healthy because Blizzard is funding it, but not because the ecosystem can sustain itself. And then in the bubble, some cracks started to show. In 2016, Cloud9, the 2015 world champions, disbanded their HOTS roster after struggling competitively, and they failed to qualify for a major event. That moment matters because it revealed, even for the biggest esports orgs, that they didn't believe in the longevity of Heroes of the Storm. Blizzard's response to all this wasn't to step back and evaluate and wonder what was happening. Instead, they just doubled down. In late 2016, Blizzard announced the Heroes Global Championship, HGC.
That was impressive.
The pitch was stability. There's going to be uniform leagues across regions. There's going to be this consistent scheduling and guaranteed contracts / compensation for top teams in each region. This was Blizzard trying to fix this bubble by turning HOTS esports into a real structure. And for a minute, it worked. But the trade-off, in hindsight, was obvious. This kind of league is expensive. You're not just funding prize pools, you're funding production, you're funding regional operations, you're subsidizing team stability. And as that structure gets more official, you just start seeing orgs churn. Team Liquid, for example, dropped their HOTS division in 2016 after failing to qualify for HGC Europe Phase 1. Something Victor, the founder of Team Liquid, expressed his disappointment in our interview. Now here's the part that makes HOTS esports uniquely set up for failure. HOTS, the game, was designed around team play and coordination. That's what makes it so fun to play with friends. But the problem with that, as a spectator sport, the design choice kind of sucks. People like individuals, people like people, not teams. Think LeBron, think Josh Allen, my boy, or Faker. In League and in Dota, it's easy to build stars because you can point to a single player and say, that guy carries. Where in Heroes of the Storm, the best moments are usually 5 people doing the right thing together. That's awesome, and it feels awesome, but it's harder to market. It's harder to turn all of that into a mainstream narrative. So Blizzard was just dumping money into an esports scene that wasn't competitive and not that fun to watch. And with all these problems stacking on top of each other, another one was added. Blizzard got distracted with Overwatch. HOTS all of a sudden became the other competitive Blizzard game, getting outshined and forgotten by its own company. And then after getting spanked and infiltrated by Tracer, things got even worse for the game. On December 13, 2018, Blizzard announced 2 things. Number 1, devs are moving off Heroes to other projects. And number 2, HGC plus Heroes of the Dorm would not return the following year. The rug had just been pulled. And whether esports mattered to you personally or not, that announcement killed the same thing for everyone. Belief in the game and in the future. So creators leave, pros leave, or most likely were fired, and new players stopped arriving. The game doesn't die immediately, but it loses all its momentum, which is a slow death in live service. The bubble had been popped, and Blizzard was the one to do it. They put their own game into purgatory, and Heroes of the Storm was then put into maintenance mode. Over the next few years, a few new characters were released, but basically the game was getting its last updates. And then, the final nail in the coffin, July 2022, Blizzard published the update that basically defines modern Heroes of the Storm, freezing it in its current meta and stating, moving forward, we will support Heroes in a manner similar to our other long-standing games, StarCraft and StarCraft 2. In the future, we'll continue seasonal roles and hero rotations, and while the in-game shop will remain operational, there are no plans for new for-purchase content to be added. Future patches will primarily focus on client sustainability and bug fixing, with balance updates coming as needed. That was the official Limbo statement I'd been waiting for. And here's the twist. Limbo is why I still play. Why I still love this game. Because Heroes of the Storm has become the only live service game that doesn't demand homework. I can take months off, come back, and I don't have to relearn a brand new meta. I just shoot out a text to the boys, we all jump on like we're back in college and have a blast. HOTS is still HOTS. The quests are the same, there are no new characters, and the map with the conveyor belts still trick me into doing stupid things. And I'm not the only one. 1 to 3 million people play this game every month. It still has a cult-like following, and whenever I play, queues rarely take more than a few seconds. Now I mostly play ARAM, but still. But all this brings me to the question, why make this video now? Nothing has changed in years with this game, until recently. Something is happening. Heroes of the Storm has been quietly getting updates again for the past few months. Not a full revival, but enough to make the community and myself look up. On June 2nd of 2025, there was a 10-year anniversary patch, making all heroes free for a limited window. So they had this marketing push to drive awareness. Nothing crazy, but then on December 1st of 2025, a patch went live with skins, map updates, and balance changes. This was crazy to me and my buddies. They added new stuff to the game. I actually had to read a talent for the first time in years. I kept asking, what is happening? Am I reading too hard into this? Probably. But I am curious, with the Microsoft acquisition solidifying and the publishing of HOTS on Game Pass, is the game making a comeback? does Microsoft see use for a party MOBA built on legendary IP? Personally, I think this is a perfect time to revitalize Heroes of the Storm. Pokemon Unite came out a few years ago and it blew up. There is a big audience for a casual MOBA, and that game proved it. So my pitch is the following. Don't bring HOTS back to fight against League or Dota. Bring it back to own a different lane. Have it be known as the easiest MOBA, the fun MOBA, the play with your friends tonight MOBA, the Game Pass MOBA. And yes, with all of that, add Xbox characters. Master Chief and Nexus would blow me away. Whatever happens in the next few months, know that Heroes didn't fail because it was bad. It failed because Blizzard couldn't commit to the audience it built the game for. They made a casual-friendly MOBA and tried to monetize it like a hardcore esport. And when it didn't become the biggest game on earth, they stopped believing. But I never stopped playing. And then if you haven't stopped, and I hope that maybe, just maybe, Microsoft sees this video, they see the potential of this dead game.